Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our live quarterly Dynasty breakdown for the first quarter of the 2025 NFL season. Be sure to smash that like and subscribe. You can check me out on Twitter at clemke007_FF. And check us out on our Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. But let's get rolling here. How we doing tonight out there? Go ahead and throw your questions out there in the chat. If you've got questions on Malik Neighbors, Joe Burrow, Puka Nacua, AJ Brown, Brian Thomas, go ahead, hit me up. Let me know what you're thinking. Buy, sell them, hold, all those kinds of questions rolling around the heads of everyone. And if you're not questioning those players just because you don't own them in your particular league, you are doing yourself a disservice. When Joe Burrow went down with the toe injury, I went into every one of my dynasty leagues to see which team owned Joe Burrow, because the only way he wasn't going to be on the market really was if it was on a complete rebuilding team. Any team contending had to make a decision or a choice what they were going to do with Joe Burrow. They could decide to wait a couple weeks, but ideally when an injury happens, you want to either take advantage of it, that value that they're at, especially with a high-end player, right away. Otherwise, you are going to fall victim to the falling value. And if you're contending and you have some decent assets, you're okay getting away with losing a second's worth of value, like trading, Joe Burrow and a second, or just Joe Burrow straight up for Justin Herbert at that time, right? Something like that. Yes, you're sort of tearing down, so to speak, but Justin Herbert's been playing well. He had been playing well when that injury occurred, right? So that's the point I'm getting at. Right now, we've got the Malik Neighbors injury that happened on Sunday, and so it's unfortunate for him and for the Giants and all of us owners out there. But what did we decide to do with that? Not just if you owned him, okay? What did you decide to do if you were maybe not going to contend, right? This is the quarter point of the NFL season. So the point is we're 4 games in. Now we've got some decent data, some decent stats. We know now which offenses are rolling, which offenses are not. We know which defenses suck. We have an idea of who some of this year's breakouts are, right? Quentin Johnston out of nowhere. Where do you value him right now? I mean, would you take him straight up for Ladd McConkey? Would you rather have Ladd McConkey just because he came into this season more valued? Great question, right? So those are the types of things rolling through everybody's minds, and I want to address them tonight. Give you an idea maybe of what I've done in the meantime with this, and give you some actionable advice. If you've got any questions, again, go ahead, throw them down in the chat there. I'm ready to help you win your dynasty leagues. Unless, of course, I'm in it. But, you can come in second. That's fine. All right. So I'm going to start off with a trade from my Patreon. And this one has to do, I mentioned Joe Burrow and Malik Neighbors right off the bat, and kind of why I threw them on the thumbnail, right? But the point is, these are 2 guys who were top 15 dynasty assets going into the season, right? If you had one or the other, or especially both of them on your dynasty rosters, if you had both of these dudes, you were probably thinking pretty good, on a contending team. You were probably setting your sights on a title this year, right? But now, if you don't, if you still have both of them, what are you looking at? Well, this is one move that Break Yourself made in my bottom line league with Matt English. Matt English up there, Lemke on the top. He received Joe Burrow and Break Yourself's probably late 26 first for A.J. Brown and Jackson Dart. So Break Yourself, a contender, looking for points. He's not getting any points out of Joe Burrow or the 26 first right now. So he went out, drank the Kool-Aid on Jackson Dart, and went after the falling value of A.J. Brown. So where are we at on the deal like this? Because Joe Burrow now 2.5 weeks removed from the turf toe injury. Look at the value that he got from him here. Had he made this deal immediately following the injury, he probably would have gotten more value, right? Now, A.J. Brown's value would not have dipped to where it's at right now, but point being, he needs A.J. Brown to turn it around to make this trade viable. Now, Jackson Dart, he looks solid in his first game out there, but there's that elephant in the room that, Malik Neighbors is not going to be there this year. So then where do we go, right? What if the Giants don't perform well enough for Brian Daboll to keep his job? Which, yes, they got the victory over the Chargers, which was a pretty big deal. The Chargers were 3-0, Giants 0-3 going into the game, and yes, there was all this excitement about Dart starting, and he pulled out the victory. So awesome, right? Now he's 1-0. But now what is he going to do? What is he going to do fantasy-wise, right? So I do believe Jackson Dart can run. He can give you 30, 40 yards a game. But ideally, and I'll steal this from somebody else who I heard earlier today, we're looking at a Drake May type rookie season right now, right? Drake May looked good enough last year to not lose value, but he simply just didn't have the weapons around him to perform at an elite level, right? That was just too much to ask, okay? Jaden Daniels, he did a lot last year with not much, but he still at least had Terry McLaurin. Jackson Dart right now is looking at Wan'Dale Robinson as his top target. So, yes, he's going to get him more points, and yes, he got a younger asset, but I don't know. It's going to help him win, we'll put it that way. It's not going to hurt him. All right, these two players, A.J. Brown and Jackson Dart, will score points. But A.J. Brown, he's playing at a level right now where, I am not benching A.J. Brown anywhere, and I own enough of him that I got probably a 20% ownership rate on A.J. Brown in my leagues, right? So it's very important to me that A.J. Brown comes on strong here following this first quarter of action. And so I do believe A.J. Brown can do that. He's too good of a player. They tried force feeding him some targets last week in the second half, but Tampa was all over him. Jalen Hurts didn't even complete a single pass in the second half last week. All right. So I'm sure the Eagles are working on things here. They're not going to let A.J. Brown. Realistically, what do you think? A.J. Brown's going to finish the year with 400 yards receiving? Come on. All right. This guy's going to get near 1,000 or even over 1,000 still. I'm not concerned. I haven't dumped any of my A.J. Brown shares. All right. His performance has not hurt my team enough to the point where I've turned from a contender down to a pretender and where I have to retool or rebuild yet. So I haven't had to just dump him while the sky is falling here. All right. Because I don't want to do that. People don't even want to give up a first for him right now. It's that bad. So just be patient. That's my thoughts on A.J. Brown. Jackson Dart, love the performance on Sunday with Neighbors going down. Showed great leadership to still pull out the victory. But it's still a wait and see process there with Dart. Now, he's probably going to hold decent value, stay in the top 15 through the season as long as he looks all right, as long as he looks better than Cam Ward, I mean, which is setting the bar really low. But, the Giants are a team, it's hard to see them getting up to 500, we'll put it that way. And if they don't get to 500, if they don't go seven or eight wins this year, I don't know that Daboll's back next year. So then you're looking at Malik Neighbors returning from an ACL tear, a whole new offensive system, and a Jackson Dart Malik Neighbors connection that's played not even 2 whole quarters together in the NFL. So that's what you're staring at when you're bringing Malik Neighbors into the forefront, right? So Malik Neighbors, amazing rookie season. And you can see there, as of now, was wide receiver 19. Prior to last week's game, though, I mean, weeks 1 and 2 were pretty solid. Then had over 20 points. No, just 2 points in week 3, and that's the week that got Russell Wilson bench. So the first 2 weeks were decent, but these last 2 weeks and then the injury has left him at wide receiver 19. Now, I want to get over to my Patreon to show you a couple of Malik Neighbors deals. So, from both sides, because here's the thing. As I was talking about with Neighbors, you should do your diligence and check out every single team in all of your leagues who is the Neighbors owner. Because if the Neighbors owner is anything other than a bottom-end rebuilder, right? A bottom-end rebuilder having Neighbors as one of their only assets, right? This is actually almost better for them because now Neighbors isn't going to score any points and they're going to have a higher draft pick. But any team from a middle of the pack to a hardcore contender, they got to decide now, what are they doing with this guy? Okay. And so one of my teams that was a contender in a 12-team best ball, we decided to ship Neighbors away, as well as Jackson Dart, because we wanted to make sure we were getting points for this contender, right? And so what we ended up shipping away was right here. And it was, we got Daniel Jones, Roma Dunze, Woody Marks, and Ashton Genty. This was a 3-team deal, sorry. This is the one where her got. I'll get to this one in a second. Let me do the first deal that I was talking about. I'm sorry for getting this mixed up. Let me get the trade up that I want to show you guys, because it's important that I start with the contender before I get you mixed up with my rebuilding trade, because I do want to emphasize both sides of the coin here. All right, there it is. Jeez. It wasn't that hard, Chris. Jeez. What's the deal? All right. Everybody's worried. What's the deal? What's the deal? All right, so this was in my max points league. And this is 12-team best ball, start 12. All right, big bonuses. That's why we call it max points. But anyway, here we go. All right, so it was mine and Hergott's team. We're sharing a team here, and Vic Bollinger. All right, Vince, sorry. And big Vikings fan, and shockingly, we were able to scrape Justin Jefferson off of him. He is rebuilding. Not rebuilding necessarily, but he's accumulating draft capital, put it that way. It's only the first year of the league, but he obviously was not, he did not draft a win now team. Okay. Us, on the other hand, we started out, we are 6-2, I believe, and we've got a couple of older assets, win now type players, point producing vets, Devontae Adams types players. And so with Malik Neighbors and Dart on the squad, we wanted to get some points for sure. And Daniel Jones on fire, right? Dude, if A.D. Mitchell could figure out how to reach the ball across the goal line, Daniel Jones would have had another 6 points last week. So you're looking at, we got Daniel Jones and Jefferson for Neighbors and Dart. Now, the others are kind of throw-ins, Trey Harris, Ty Johnson, Riley Leonard, whatever. But the point being, we basically got Neighbors for Jefferson, essentially. Dart is more valuable than Daniel Jones, but from our perspective, Daniel Jones is more valuable than Jackson Dart, in my opinion. Like, Daniel Jones has got a little rushing upside. Same with Dart. Daniel Jones has way better weapons, right? Daniel Jones is on a contending team. The Colts are 3-1 now. They went and lost to the Rams last week, but they were right in that game. And so it's hard for me to go against Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was one of my most owned players coming into this year because he was so damn cheap, right? And so problem with that, though, is that price point of what he was coming into this season has still stuck in people's minds so far. I don't think that Daniel Jones' value will increase. People are starting to get first for him in my leagues, but I don't think they'll get the full return on value until he gets that contract from the Colts. Now, he could get that contract extension at any point. He's just signed for the 1 year. But I could easily see him getting a Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold type deal, 3 years, $100 million, maybe 2 years for $80 million, something like that. But the point is that the Colts offense is clicking, and that means good things for Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, not Josh Downs yet, but Tyler Warren's looking good. And so the Colts are humming, and I want to bet on something like that versus a rookie quarterback who just lost his bona fide stud wide receiver going into his second start. Okay? And I don't have a problem with this deal from Vince's side, the other side either. Could he have asked for a little more juice? Maybe. I don't know if we would have gone somewhere else with Neighbors then, but point being, this is one deal that was made this week. Now, Malik Neighbors, in the deals that I've seen, he's being valued anywhere from like wide receiver 5 down to wide receiver 15. When I did my wide receiver updated rankings 2 days ago, actually it was yesterday morning. When I did my wide receiver update rankings, I put him in, I just parked him, I said, I'll park him right in at wide receiver 10. I know he's not quite down to that value yet. If you look at keep, trade, cut or whatever, fantasy calc, whatever calculator you want to use, he's probably not settled in at a value yet that he'll sit at for the remainder of the 2025 NFL season. But the point being, and this is key for all you retoolers, rebuilders, whatever situation you're in, and you're acquiring Neighbors right now, the key is that once week 17 finishes up, his value is going to start to climb again. whether Brian Dable stays there and there's enthusiasm because he got to keep the job and there's more enthusiasm for Jackson Dart, that route for next season, Neighbors' value will increase. Or, on the other hand, they get a new offensive minded head coach in there to lead Jackson Dart to the promised land. Or they get a defensive guy who brings in an offensive guru. Geez, sound familiar? I already mentioned it earlier. It's Drake May all over again. The difference, Dart and Neighbors have already worked an off-season together. May and Stefan Diggs had to relearn everything, relearn each other. Not relearn, but just get to know each other. Dart and Neighbors have somewhat of a little bit of a connection, even though they may have only played 2 quarters together. At least they had one off season under their belt already. And it was a preseason that was full of hype. Like Jackson Dart kicked ass in the preseason. So again, though, it's preseason. Now, week 1, he did go out there and beat 3-0 Chargers. That's some good optimism. All right? Now, I like this deal from both sides. And this is the kind of deal that you're looking at. Point being, don't undersell Malik Neighbors. Go out there and go after whether it's Amon-Ra St. Brown or a cheap Jamar Chase or a Nico Collins. Go after a stud wide receiver. Don't settle on Ricky Pearsall and whatever running back, okay? That's not, depending on the running back, I guess, but don't just settle. Go for the top, because Malik Neighbors is going to bounce back. We've seen all these guys come back from ACL tears. I'm not worried about that, and you shouldn't be either. Because here's the key. Neighbors is, keep in mind, it's an asset, right? You acquire Neighbors now. Yes, his value is going to go down a little, but his value could increase again, or it will probably. You know it will. All right, next up, got a deal here from the, what league was this? Okay, this is another best ball league. Now, this is the flip side. This one, I had a contending team that I had a win now type squad. Now, this may look insane to you, but hear me out. So this is a best ball league, and 12 teams start 12, and Dynasty, and I drafted a more win now team, yet I still had a quarterback horde going on, and I was able to get up to 427 firsts after I traded away Drake May for 2 firsts, a 27 and 28. So I came out of the startup with 327 firsts, sitting at 427 firsts. Now I'm at 527 firsts, and I think I might have to stop there, because otherwise I'm just going to be bidding against myself, and I'm actually going to make those firsts start to lose value. But separate point, Malik Neighbors coming over, and in return, Matt English received Geno, Daniel Jones, Godwin, Cooper Kupp, Jacoby Myers, Tony Pollard, and Michael Pittman. So he basically got 2 stacks in Daniel Jones and Pittman, Jacoby Myers and Geno. Then he got Godwin, Kupp, and Pollard. Okay. Now, at first glance, this might seem insane. Like, geez, Chris, what were you doing getting rid of all those? Well, the point being, I was at 2-2. However, I was the second lowest points scored. All right, so let me repeat that. Second lowest points scored. So there's many ways to look at it, and we'll get in at the very end. We're going to touch on whether to contend or retool / rebuild. But point being is, yeah, my record was 500, but points-wise, I was the second worst team in the league, okay? As much as I wanted to think I drafted a monster here. Value-wise, I do. But the problem is that I was sitting on 5 quarterbacks, and so I had Jane Daniels, Mahomes, Baker, Geno, and Daniel Jones, and I still wasn't able to get a single first for Daniel Jones in this league, even though I have been shopping him since the end of the startup. Or not then, since my apologies, since he was announced starter. Okay, now I fully understood not getting a first for him right when he started, but after weeks 2 and 3, like, and there's teams in this league that need quarterbacks. All right, now could I have waited? Sure. However, the team that took this deal was 1-3. I don't know that this team would have been, if they lose this week and they're sitting at 1-4. I don't know that they're going to want these guys. He might think he might end up trying to resell a bunch of these guys himself. Now, looking at it on face value, I'll say Daniel Jones is worth a first. I'll say Michael Pittman is borderline a first right now. Chris Godwin, early second, right? Cooper Kupp, what can you get for him? A third? Tony Pollard on the Titans, stand alone. What are you getting for Tony Pollard? Is somebody really going to give you a mid-second for Tony Pollard to help their title run? Jacoby Myers? I mean, Geno has been slinging it around the yard, but that's not because the Raiders want to be. They want, like, what happened last week, where Genty's blowing up. So, yeah, I could have sat there and tried to package, like, Geno and Jacoby Myers for a 28 first, maybe, right? Now, Michael Pittman and Daniel Jones, yeah, you'd think you could get, like, if you did Daniel Jones and Pittman for a first and second, you'd be able to do that. Or if you did Daniel Jones and Pittman plus a second, you could maybe squeeze 2 firsts out of somebody, maybe. But I don't know that that's a great trade this early in the year, so I don't know if somebody's really doing that. The key here, what I'm getting at is I was able to pull off Malik Neighbors, and what right now, if it ended, it would be a mid, I think they'd be around pick 4 or 5, right? Finn Laden's 27 first. So, yes, I got to wait 2 years for it, but it added to my value and flexibility that I will have in the 27 draft, having 5 draft picks. I have what could very well end up being the 101. I have my own pick, so I have potentially 2 top 3 picks. I have a couple of those picks are from teams that are looking pretty solid, so I'll consider those late. And then I have a mid pick. So I'm going to be able to dominate the 27 draft, which everybody's all excited for. I know Jeremiah Smith's been playing well. I know Arch hasn't. I know Ryan Williams really hasn't. But we're 2 years away. There's plenty of time for a lot of dudes to start stepping it up. And as long as you've got that golden nugget in Jeremiah Smith leading the way, he's going to jump in easily as a top 10 wide receiver right away in Dynasty. Could be like, I mean, we're talking, he'll be similarly valid to what Marv was last year, okay? So I'll take that. Not necessarily to draft Jeremiah Smith myself, but just the value of the pick alone is great. And so that's the whole point. That's why I did this. That's how I was able to get rid of all these players. Because if I started nickel and diming people, I would have ended up with like 7 seconds, a third, and a first for all these dudes. Or maybe 2 firsts, 5 seconds, and a third. Would you rather have Malik Neighbors and 1 second, or 2 seconds or 2 firsts and a bunch of seconds? I'll take Neighbors, okay? Because I know that by the end of this season, come off season, I'm going to be able to get at least 2 firsts for Malik Neighbors. If I let that marinate and go through draft season and go to August next year and all the hype starts building with Dart and Neighbors throwing the ball back and forth, I know I can at least get 2 firsts for him. So I don't think I could get 3 firsts for all that trash. I shouldn't say trash. These are great from the other side now, Matt English's side. Okay, he had 227 firsts. He got rid of 1. And he added amazing depth pieces. Like, this is ideal. He added a 3rd and 4th quarterback in Daniel Jones and Geno Smith. He added Jacoby Myers, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, and Michael Pittman to his wide receiver room. He added Tony Pollard to the backfield, who, say what you want, in best ball format, it's solid. So this is a deal that, yeah, most definitely would not have gotten done in a lineup league. All right. But in a best ball format, this was ideal for both sides. I did not see a window to win this year, and so I decided to take a chance and go after it. I know it's best ball, and I know I consolidated in a backwards fashion here, but we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I'm willing to take some risks. You gotta be willing to take some risks sometimes, right? Okay, let's get into the one other deal that was done that we've got recorded so far in our leagues around Malik Neighbors, and this one ended up being a 3-team deal. So this deal centered around the fact that Hergot had been wanting Roma Dunze from me, who I'm in the 2nd year of a rebuild. I'm on it. I've got a team that I know isn't gonna win it, but I also am I'm like on the fringe of the playoffs, right? So I got an okay team. I had Genty, Roma Dunze, Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison, Justin Herbert at quarterback. Had Judkins, but traded him for Harrison. That's why I got him. Got Tootin, Bill. Got a lot of young talent, right? So I'm just looking for talent that's going to sustain its value, all right? Which would easily be done in the form of picks, but I also, like I said, I'm in the 2nd year of my rebuild. I got to start turning this into some kind of a lineup, right? And so, for one, I don't mind getting rid of any points that are scoring right now because I do want a good draft pick in 26. I would like to have a top 3 pick. That's all good. So let's get it on here. What started off with just me and Hergot throwing the Roma Dunze versus Malik Neighbors idea out there turned into something wild here, and let's get to it. So I ended up, my end of this 3-leg ended up being me getting Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, and Jackson Dart. And in return, I'm getting rid of Roma Dunze, Ashton Genty, 26 first, and a 26 second. So, from this end, for me, basically, I'm looking at it now. I had been inquiring from Hergot about Jackson Dart for a good solid month at least, and because like I said, I only have Justin Herbert at quarterback. So, point being here, the way I look at it, Genty and Bowers you can cross each other off with. Rome or Neighbors and the second you could cross each other off with, or if you want, you could say Neighbors and Rome are even. In my latest Dynasty rankings, I put Rome up at number 7, and Neighbors, like I said, I parked him in at 10, but I know that his value will bounce back up, and by the time next season rolls around, Neighbors could be worth more than Rome. I think they'll both be top 10, but I don't want to argue that point right now. I'm just crossing those two out. Then you have Jackson Dart for either the 26 first or the 26 second. I'm in Camp Dart, and the reason being I like Jackson Dart over any of the quarterback prospects right now in the 2026 draft. And if I can get that quarterback now, who I've seen do it on the NFL field, not just in preseason, but one game, I'm going to jump and take that. If I'm already taking Malik Neighbors, I mean, I'm betting on Jackson Dart if I'm taking Malik Neighbors. So, yeah, I'm all for it. But that's just the idea there. Again, if you're buying into Neighbors, you are buying into Jackson Dart as well, right? So I wanted to show you the other legs of this. Yes, there we go. All right, so this end of it was Hergott's. And so Hergott, again, he's a contender. He gave away Neighbors Dart and that first. In return, that first is going to be an early 26 first, mind you. He, in return, got Daniel Jones, Roma Dunze, Woody Marks, and Genty. So, want to cross a Dunze and Neighbors off? Fine. You want to cross Daniel Jones and Woody Marks off with Dart? Sounds good. And then that 26 early first, top 3 pick there with Ash and Genty. I think those are all pretty fair assessments. I do like Hergott's end of this, and now I'll show you Fossboss's end as well. I think everybody kind of got what they wanted here. And here's Fossboss's end of it. Now, Breece Hall is who he ended up getting at running back. He had been trying to vie for Ash and Genty, but wasn't able to. So he really just, he gave up Brock Bowers. Daniel Jones he had at a cheap price. Devontae Adams didn't really need as a non-contender, and then Woody Marks. So Woody Marks, I'd say straight up for the second. Bowers, I would go with, Fossboss in this deal, mind you, was getting his own 26 first back, and so that's what I think. If you want to look at it, I could say, yeah, Bowers and the 226 firsts, I think, equal Bowers, because those are both going to be top 5 picks. So 2 top 5 picks for Brock Bowers, I think, is pretty fair. And then Breece Hall for Daniel Jones and Devontae Adams, I think, is pretty solid as well, especially with the news on Braylon Allen's injury. All right, so I think everybody got what they wanted. A 3-teamer, it's very rare, but we were able to finagle it back and forth, and we made it happen. So didn't want to turn this into a trade show, but those were great examples of what you can do with Malik Neighbors in your league, whether you're a contender, whether you're a middle-of-the-road team, and especially if you're a retooling team, this is a decent time, if you've got point-producing wide receivers, to go out there and at least kick the tires on Malik Neighbors. Like, even if you have just, like, for some reason, Devontae Adams on a rebuild is your top guy. Like, Devontae Adams can put up points not quite up to what Neighbors would have been projected to do, but it could be adequate enough. You're going to have to throw something else on top of it, obviously, but that's the point. Like, use your imagination. Be creative. Create that activity. Don't just throw a player out on the block and expect everybody to come to you to get a deal done. That's not the way it works. Like, if you want to get a deal done, you got to be the aggressor. You got to make things happen. All right. So, following that, talked about them enough, I think. Let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts offense. And we already touched on Daniel Jones a little bit. But what does Daniel Jones' success so far really mean? And how can you use that to your advantage? Well, Daniel Jones is still cheap, like I said. Pretty much a first. If the Daniel Jones owner has 4 quarterbacks now, because they didn't go into the season thinking Daniel Jones was going to be playing. Most of teams who had Daniel Jones going into the year like he was their fourth quarterback or fifth quarterback even. Now they've got this extra asset. Plenty of teams who have Daniel Jones are willing to simply, easily take a first straight up for him. If you need a quarterback because you have had injuries now, or there's bye weeks coming up, dude, Daniel Jones is QB7 right now. He would be higher again if A.D. Mitchell had just gotten across that goal line. So I am drinking the Kool-Aid. I think that Steichen is a solid offensive mind. He just needed the right quarterback in there and the system. And I think that with all the talent around him in Indy, this is the most talent he's had around him. I'm not going to count his time with Minnesota because he didn't play. But, I mean, he's got weapons and he's got the solid run game in JT. This also benefits Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, still one of the best buys that you could make in Dynasty at the running back position. I'm not saying just throw a couple seconds at him, but I am saying be creative. If you want to get JT and another piece, then you could consider throwing 2 firsts if you're a contender. But again, it is only between weeks 4 and 5. I don't know that you want to make that move quite yet. Like, it depends too if there's a trade deadline or not in your league. If in a non-trade deadline league, I would possibly hold off. It all depends on your league market. Sometimes you get two teams that want to rebuild at the same time, which is what happened in my Dynasty Land League last week, and that's what a lot of the trades on the trade show were, because there were so many deals that went down because they were just both fire sailing so that they could contend, beat each other up over the 101 versus the 102 in the 26 draft, which fine. I mean, one is definitely always more valuable than the 102. Sometimes they're much closer than other times. I don't know. Right now, we see Jeremiah Love probably as the 101, a running back from Notre Dame. I don't know. Tyson, the receiver from Arizona State, probably number 2. And then you got a bunch of quarterbacks who, I don't know if they even have it figured out yet. But point being, Jonathan Taylor, goodbye. A good buy right now and going forward through this season. I mean, this offense is set up to be a running offense. All right. Tyler Warren in the mix. I mean, whenever you have a good receiving tight end, usually that helps build the running game, because a good receiving tight end takes extra attention from the safety, helps keep them out of the box, and give extra running lanes for the running backs. All right. And I don't want to forget, before, go get Michael Pittman too. You can still get Pittman for an early second off a rebuilding team. Go for it. All right. Next up, let's touch on the new Dynasty wide receiver 1, and that's Puka Nacua. I don't know which way I can explain it, but the easiest way I can say is, if you've got Jamar Chase and you go and try and trade for Puka Nacua right now, I don't think there's any way in hell you're getting it straight up. You're going to have to add something to that Jamar Chase side, okay? Unless you are giving it to a team that already has Joe Burrow and is sitting on Puka, then you could use that stacking point to your advantage in the deal. But I bet he's still going to want something on top of Chase, even if it's just a third or a fourth. They're going to want something on top. With the way Puka's playing, he's playing at league-winning levels right now. It's just, I mean, he's averaging 25 a game, okay? That's rarely happened at the wide receiver position. We're talking Jamar Chase type season from last year, Cooper Kupp type season from 5 years ago. Like, this is exactly what Sean McVay does. We've seen him do it. We know it's, barring injury, it's going to happen this year. It is worth it to go try and acquire Puka Nacua. It is as close to a guarantee as you can get right now, this target share. He's got Devontae Adams on the other side to take some defensive attention away, it is going to happen. So I don't want to dwell too much on Puka because it's really quite simple. If you have the pieces to go and get him, you still have a solid lineup. This is helping get more points into your lineup. I don't have a problem going after it. Go get Puka. Next up, we've got a little big mover. All right. He jumped from a month ago being valued. I had him in the 60s at wide receiver. He was in the Alec Pierce, Rashad Bateman level tier, right? What does he do? He goes and kicks his new rookie Trey Harris into that tier of wide receivers, those single route running types. All they can do is go deep. Yeah, that's kind of where we were at with Quentin Johnston heading into this season, right? Well, what does he do? He basically has gone out and unseated Ladd McConkey in that Chargers offense. Justin Herbert's playing at an extremely high level. He's outscoring Keenan Allen. I don't know the dynamic, whether it's Keenan Allen that's keeping Ladd McConkey down, or if it's Quentin Johnston, or it's just the combination of both. The fact is, Ladd McConkey, he hasn't gotten in the end zone yet. First 3 games weren't terrible. I mean, yeah, there was 4 for 41 game, but the other, I mean, he had 6 catches in week 1, I think 5 in week 2, 4 week 3, but then just 1 catch for 11 yards last week. And I'm telling you right now, I am not giving up Quentin Johnston for Ladd McConkey. So do that, use that information with what you want, but I'm back to being a believer. Like, this guy was a first round draft pick for a reason. Okay, the talent is there. It just took, this is a 3-year breakout. We used to talk about 3-year breakouts all the time 20 years ago. But now, if they don't do anything in their rookie season, these receivers are getting kicked to the wayside. Well, dude's only 24 years old. And I don't know if it's Keenan Allen coming in and giving him some pep talks and veteran leadership or what it is, but Quentin Johnston has a fire under his ass, and he is balling. And yes, I would take him over his teammate Ladd McConkey in Dynasty right now. So use that information with it, what you will. It's going to be hard to go out there and trade for this dude, as he's blown up so much. But you can go ahead and I don't mind buying high. When guys are playing well, like, you want to win. Sometimes you have to. It isn't all about buying low and selling high, right? So, next thing I wanted to talk about just a little bit. We all know that prior to last week, we did not like our rookie running backs one bit. Then, week 4 happened. Right? Heading into week 4, Quinshon Judkins, literally the only dude who didn't play at all in camp, was the only one doing anything. Right? Now, Ashton Genty blows up. Omarion Hampton blows up. Woody Marks blows up. Travion Henderson gets into the end zone. RJ Harvey has a big game on Monday Night Football. Those rookie running backs are going to be damn tough to acquire right now. But again, if a super rebuilding team has one, you can go ahead and kick the tires. Hell, I just traded Ashton Genty on a team that wasn't necessarily, it was in the second year of a rebuild, right? Because the value was there. I wanted the more stability in the value at tight end and wide receiver. I mean, when you're talking about big names like that, I don't mind, from my deal, I don't mind getting Brock Bowers and Malik Neighbors, all right? If Genty's involved, fine, okay? But that's why I play in multiple leagues, so I don't feel, I have Ashton Genty in other leagues, so I don't, it's not like this was my only share, okay? But, and I still don't trust that Raiders offensive line. Like, I know that Bowers is on the Raiders, right? But I do know that they're going to have to throw this year. Okay, they're not all of a sudden turning into a first place team. Not in that division. All right, they still are down the road of a top 10 pick this year. We'll just put it that way. And so hopefully they grab a lineman. Yes, because I think with Gino's contract, he's probably going to be there still next year. But yeah, I think that Genty is the one who I don't mind selling right now off of a 3 touchdown performance. I still like the guy, but I'm really loving me some Omari Hampton right now. I gotta say that the Najee Harris injury, coupled with the performance of Justin Herbert so far, I think maybe teams will make a little bit of an adjustment towards the passing game. I mean, obviously the Giants figured something out. They were able to hold them to 18 points last week. The Giants, the New York Giants, yes, they won a football game. And so the point being, though, Omari Hampton was doing it all. Like, this guy is not somebody you want to have to lock heads with one-on-one. Just a big-ass bowling ball. Had a 54-yard run for a touchdown, finished with over 100 yards rushing, and had 5 for 37 through the air. Like, this dude can do it all, and if he's getting the opportunity, like, I have no problem buying him on a contending team, because this guy's going to smash down the stretch, in my opinion. So he would be the running back that I would love to go and acquire. I don't know about Judkins. I don't love the touchdown upside in Cleveland with the Browns, even though last week he was able to get in the end zone again. And he's pretty much penciled in for 20 carries a week. I don't know. Flacco's probably out the door this week. It sounds like Dylan Gabriel might get the start. They haven't announced it yet. We'll look for that news on Thursday or Friday. Basically, we'll see who takes the first team snaps, and then the announcement will either come tomorrow or Friday, which could be good or bad. Teams don't have tape on Dylan Gabriel, so who knows how things start out there in Cleveland. Couldn't get much worse, put it that way. They did beat the Packers 2 weeks ago, but that was super ugly, and the Packers basically handed them that one by not scoring in the fourth quarter and then throwing an interception. I mean, it was just god-awful ugly. And so, anyway, love Omari Hampton. It's a buy. Judkins, Travion Henderson, he did get into the end zone last week. Whoever owns him probably excited about that, so it's tough to acquire. RJ Harvey, monster performance on Monday night. Awesome performance. Keep in mind, when you're talking teams like Denver and New England, those are not teams that have bell cow situations. Mike Vrabel, other than Derrick Henry, he did not just have a single back system. You remember Derrick Henry's first 2 years? Like, he split so much work his first 2 years. Travion Henderson's in the same boat there. They're going to still get Ramondre Stevenson and or Antonio Gibson touches. Travion is not getting 25-plus touches a game. It's not a thing. He could get 15 to 20, 15-plus, something like that. We're just hoping for the efficiency and hope that offense continues to grow under Drake May. So, very good possibility. Then we have Woody Marks. Woody Marks is the man. I did the video. You can go check it out back a month and a half ago. Who is this year's Kyron Williams / Bucky Irving? Boom. It's starting. It's happening. And now it's probably too late to trade for him. Unless, again, check out your owner in the league who owns Woody Marks and kick the tires. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, his snap shares increased from 11% to 20% to 40% week 3. And last week, boom, 60-something%. Over 100 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Woody Marks is here, and they are excited in Houston. So go ahead and get you some Woody. Yeah. If you want the next Woody, look at that snap share. Brashard Smith, I'm talking to you. That's right. Don't know that he'll get that kind of work in Kansas City, but just telling you, you want somebody cheap, Brashard Smith. You want somebody even cheaper? Snoop around your rosters for Jaden Blue. Because I know Javonte Williams is smashing right now down in Dallas, but Javonte Williams doesn't make it the whole season. Somebody's got to take over, and Miles Sanders is already hurt, so just saying. Jaden Blue, I don't love him. I don't like him like I like Woody, okay? So, just get Jaden Blue as a throw-in in a deal. That's all I'm getting at there. Same with Brashard Smith. If you don't already own him, I'm not paying a second for him right now. I'm not going to give you that. That's bad advice. Like they're looking at Brashard Smith in the Jerick McKinnon type role, which means that Brashard Smith really is nothing more than a flex play. Okay, Brashard Smith would really have to blow up to get more opportunity than what Jerick McKinnon was getting for those 3 or 4 years he was there with the Chiefs. All right. Oh, let's see here. Disappointments. Oh, yes. Well, I touched on A.J. Brown a little earlier already. I said, I don't know that you can get him for a first, just because if the owners had him for multiple years, they know what A.J. Brown's capable of. But it doesn't hurt to kick the tires on him. I see his target share going to increase. I mean, hell, when they didn't complete a pass to him last week, well, he ended up with 1 catch, but there was one series where they threw to him all 3 downs. All right. They are going to try and make that work. All right. Not to the extent of losing a game, but Philly's going to try and make it happen. They know what they got in A.J. Brown. They're going to try and make it happen. But they're still in the business of winning ball games, so don't give them that shit about not doing things right. Okay? On the other hand, you've got Brian Thomas Jr. Now, Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't quite have that alpha mentality that A.J. Brown has, so he's probably a little upset, but he's not going to, cry about it at all to the coaches. So I don't know that we might have seen Brian Thomas's best career year last year. That's my point. That's why I want to look elsewhere. If I'm going out to try and buy low, Brian Thomas isn't it. Okay, Nico Collins hasn't smashed yet. He's had 1 good game, but he's done all right. Otherwise, I would rather pay the price. You're going to end up paying similar price for Brian Thomas Jr. or Nico Collins. I'm just going to take Nico. That's the way I'm looking at it. All right. Any Brian Thomas questions, though, please ask. The key, again, when you're looking for a bona fide alpha top 5 wide receiver, and I'm not saying Amon-Ra St. Brown's a crybaby or Justin Jefferson, he's not a crybaby, but Jamar Chase, when he walks out on the field, dude thinks he is the best player on the field. I don't see that from Brian Thomas Jr. Right? So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're going out there trying to acquire a wide receiver on the low. I still would much rather have Brian Thomas Jr. than Ladd McConkey, though. But I'm going after Drake London if you're looking in that range. Okay, Ladd is definitely not in that range right now anymore. But I'll take Drake London over Brian Thomas Jr. Okay, that'd be the guy to go after. That Atlanta offense has been up and down and up and down, and I think it's going to be that way for most of the season. They just have the vibe of a 500 ball club scratching at the edge of the playoffs, right? So I think teams got some tape on Michael Penix. yeah, they're trying to find their route. They're trying to find their way. Like they've got all this talent there, Bijan, and then Algier is solid. Like he gets work every week still, and then the other receivers aren't bad, and Kyle Pitts is showing up, right? So I think it's just a case where there's a lot of talent there. They don't want to just squeeze himself into the box where it's, you know, Bijan 25 touches and Drake London 12 or 13 targets every week. We want that so bad. But telling you now, it's probably only going to happen 3 or 4 more times this year. Now, Bijan could smash, absolutely. But if he's going to have a legendary season, he needs those touchdowns. He is crushing it through the air right now. And, you know, as long as they're winning games in Atlanta, that's not going to be a problem. But I think they're, what is Atlanta, 2-2 right now? So, like I said, they just have the vibe of a 500 ball club. They've got a lot of talent there, a lot of new talent on defense. So I just don't know if, put it this way, I don't see a top 5 season out of Drake London, but he could easily finish, probably will finish top 10-ish. So I'm willing to buy into Drake London going forward. And speaking of buying in to getting points, I want to get to the final point tonight, and that is contend or retool. Not rebuild, retool. Look at the standings and be honest with yourself. Not honest with the guy a month and a half ago that had the prettiest roster in the league. I'm talking about right now. Are you 2-2 in your league, but you're super low in points? Are you 1-3, but top 3 or 4 in points? Be honest with yourself. Look at the numbers. Don't just say, oh, but I've got George Kittle coming back. You know what? George Kittle could easily get injured again this year. Or he could smash, right? But if he's smashing and you're just not getting there, you're going to be able to trade him, okay? You don't have to panic, So if you're a top 4 team, though, then you know you're a contender. If you've got top 4 in points and you're top 4 in the standings, boom. Go ahead, and I'm fine with going out and getting win now assets. If you are 500 and you are middle of the pack, now it's time to start looking. Do I go the other direction while 9 other teams in this league still think that they're going to win it this year? Right? I'm not saying you got to win the race to 101, okay? That's not what I'm getting at. And I'm not saying give away all your young talent just so you can get a zillion first round picks. I'm saying be smart about it, okay? If you've had veterans, that's my whole point of the trade that I showed for myself earlier. Like I had Godwin, Kupp, Jacoby Myers, all in that deal. Michael Pittman, who had been super down. Like, if I hung on to Michael Pittman to the end of this season, what is Michael Pittman's value in this offseason? Like, best case scenario, we've got Terry McLaurin. All right, best case scenario. And how gross did you feel if you bought Terry McLaurin for a first rounder this offseason, right? Well, that's just about where Michael Pittman's going to be because he'll be 29 in the offseason, okay? Chris Godwin is already 29. Like, these dudes this offseason, if you hang on to them, you're only getting second rounders for them, okay? That's just the simple fact, and that's why I was willing to go out and do a deal like that I did, and why you should be willing to as well. Michael Pittman was untradeable for like the last 2 years. Literally, just ask. If you've had Michael Pittman for the last 2 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is your opportunity to sell him, to get a more stable asset, because one Michael Pittman injury, like, dude gets a high ankle sprain, you are not, once again, you are not getting anything for him. So He is a sell. I know I jumped on the Colts bandwagon and everything, but the part of that is the depth that they have at the wide receiver position. Like if Michael Pittman goes down, you got Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce, especially Tyler Warren to help shoulder the load of being that chain moving type wide receiver that Pittman is. And so the Colts offense as a whole is just looking really solid. Yes, Daniel Jones needs to stay at the helm because it could all come crashing down if Anthony Richardson has to take over. But if you're buying Daniel Jones, don't hate going and getting Michael Pittman as well because they're a cheap combo. They really are. And if they stay healthy, it could help you win a title. It's just understand where your situation is in your league. If you're a top 4 team, that's one thing. But if you're in the middle of that pack, you got to really be honest with yourself and really look at that roster. Head over to Dynasty Daddy. Take a look at that playoff calculator. See where you sit. And if you have an under 1% chance of winning it, get the hell out. If you have an under 5 or even under 10% chance and you've got 7 teams ahead of you as a better percentage of winning it, man, you got to make multiple moves just to push it in. And usually that takes throwing it in first and piling on those first just to get to be the 4th best team in the league. Come on now. Let's be smart about your teams. All right? I know this is fantasy football, but be honest with yourselves. And check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Or buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Check me out on Twitter, Lemke 007_FF. And remember to never stop working.